And I'm going to try to say this with as much compassion and love as I can muster up, considering the fact that most of you have not known anything else but these beliefs about a certain part of the world and what is happening in that part of the world to an entire group of people. There's a genocide happening, whether you like to admit it or not. And nothing justifies, and I shouldn't have to say this, but nothing justifies what happened on October 7th. Because the death of innocence, the death of people, period, is an atrocity and a sin. It is horrible. But what has been done in retaliation, at this point we know it's not retaliation. It has been the plan all this time to ethnically cleanse and rid the world of what we know as Palestine, as Palestinians. But I need you to ask yourself, I need you to look into your heart of hearts. And I need you to look into the history of that area. Not just from an Israeli perspective and not just from a Christian perspective, but from the perspective that of the people that are being directly affected by this. I also need you to keep in mind, if you've watched this far, thank you. I appreciate you for listening. I also want you to keep in mind Jesus' own lineage and where Abraham himself came from and the children that he had as a result of trying his best to keep, God's promises to him. Where did Abraham come from originally? He would have been from Mesopotamia. And if you look at at an ancient map, Mesopotamia is nestled right up in the right-hand corner of the Arabian Peninsula, what is now known as Iraq. He would have been Arab. He would have been Arab. Genetically, he would have been Arab. And then he had sons. And Isaac had sons. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. The descendants of Abraham were promised that land according to the Bible. And Esau had Ishmael. And Ishmael would have been the descendant of Muhammad, who founded the religion, or you know what I mean. He would have been in the lineage of Muhammad, who founded the religion of Islam. They believe in the same God as you and I, the creator of the universe, the one and only God. Allah literally just means God in Arabic. Not only that, when you look at Christ's lineage, you look at the Canaanites that he's related to. You look at the Moabites that he's related to. And wasn't there a Hittite in his background as well? All of which were women. And the Canaanites would have been what are the Palestinians now. Rahab potentially has direct descendants who are potentially Palestinian. And then you have Ruth, who was a Moabite. She would have been Arab. Genetically speaking, I'm talking about, genetically speaking, she would have been from the Arab Peninsula or the Arabian Peninsula. So what I'm trying to say is all of this hate is just pointless. It is not godly. It is not biblical. And you know full well that Jesus would not be for this. We cannot force his return. We cannot. I highly doubt that Jesus would be okay with the death of his children, because ultimately they are his children. If you believe that all human beings are created in God's image, if you believe that Jesus died for every single one of us, shouldn't that include the Palestinians? So, in conclusion, I don't know if you'll hear me or listen to me, but I thought I would try. And I just hope that you can look into the history of that area from another perspective. Look into literature, look into movies, and look into documentaries about that area, not from an Israeli perspective and not from a Christian perspective, because those are filled with propaganda that support what is happening right now, that is perpetuating the murder of innocent people. And finally, my last thoughts about this. At this point in time, there are over 10,000 casualties in Gaza alone. Over 4,000 of them are children. About half the population of Palestine or Gaza is children under the age of 14. Nearly half. They could not have voted for Hamas when they came into power. They would have been babies and children. So they have nothing to do with what happened on October 7th. And they have not been able to have an election since they were voted into power. Israel has not allowed it because Gaza and the West, they don't have rights in that area. They don't have any rights. And when I say they don't have rights, Israel has controlled their access to food, their access to water, their access to medicine, and right now they are besieged in Gaza. They're besieged. They have no food, they have no water, they have no medicine. Children's limbs are being amputated without anesthesia. This is not okay. What happened on October 7th was a tragedy and should not have happened. But this retaliation is, in fact, it's not even retaliation. This is what was planned all along, and Netanyahu has used that as an excuse to justify the murder of millions of people, because that's what his goal is. He wants to eradicate the Palestinian people. And I am saying this because he has said this himself. Look up his statements about the Amalekites. Those were words out of his mouth. He used scripture to cater to the base that he thinks he is justified in his actions. But anyways, I doubt you've gotten this far. I doubt you've listened. But if you have, I thank you. And I hope you look into it. I hope you look into it, if anything. And please don't sit by and let this happen. In the future, I don't want your own descendants, your own grandchildren and children to ask you what you did during the Palestinian genocide. I don't want them to ask you and then you tell them that you condoned it and supported it, or potentially just did nothing. This is your time. This is your time. Anyways, I love you all, and I understand if you disagree with me, and I understand and forgive you if you want to, not have any sort of relationship with me. Because these are hard concepts to grasp, and it is hard to let go of long-held belief systems. But I can only leave you with a final thought. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus really do? I want you to think about it. Thank you. Bye. And I love you all.